always thought Santos was one too that you could look at and say, hey, this guy's got an opportunity. This guy's got a good look. He knows what he's doing in the ring. He's really good.
Welcome to CCW Talks. I'm your host, Media Director Cecil Sharp, here in the CCW studio, and I am bringing you part 2 of the best CCW Talks so far with MMA and professional wrestling reporter for the Miami Herald, Mr. Jim Varsallone. He is the Bill Apter of South Florida. I really believe that, and it is apt, if you would say. This talk, we go more into the history of independent wrestling in South Florida from the late 70s, early 80s, all the way into the reign of Coastal Championship Wrestling. He also talks about some of the newer wrestlers today and who he likes to watch. This is a very informative talk and a great primer if you're getting into independent professional wrestling from Florida. So, let me get to Jim Varsallone.
It's a variety show and then some at times. It's interesting because you used to have Championship Wrestling from Florida with Gordon Soley, and you would have an hour show on Saturday mornings. And it was basically 4 matches, and you would have some interview segments at the broadcast table with Gordon.
And that was basically the rise of what we know now as the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, yeah, Dusty was the big star. He was American Dream. Now, he was born American Dream, Dusty Rhodes character. That character, American Dream, was born in Florida with him against Pak Song Nam. Yes, Eddie Graham, who's the owner, promoter for Championship Wrestling from Florida. Credit to him and Dusty to create the American Dream. And then Dusty just hit a Grand Slam plus with that whole thing. And after that. But that was the thing back then. That was it. Now you got all these backstage segments and little segments here and little comedy spots and different things like that. And back in the day, they did a comedy every once in a while. They might cut someone's hair or feather somebody or stuff like that. The managers do something to the managers, put them inside a cage so they can't interfere. So there was always been a comedy element in pro wrestling, but it just seems heightened now because we see more of it on TV and it's in prime time and things like that.
So, Jim, in your personal experience, give us a little bit of when you first started to get into professional wrestling in Florida and when you started to get out there into the shows.
Like late 80s, early 90s, right around that time. And it really was, I was thinking back, there were a few people. There was Bill Brown and Bernie Siegel with Sunshine Wrestling Federation and FCW, and they would run shows throughout South Florida, a lot in Miami, a lot at the Indian Reservation, Big Cypress too. The only request that the Native Americans had was that Bill must have one Native American on the show. So it was either Chief Billy White Eagle or Tatanka would be on Bill's show. It would be a prepaid show, so they were getting paid no matter what. And they would go and have I've never went to Big Cypress, so it's one of the things I regret is not being able to go to one of the shows there, but I never got an opportunity to go. But back in the day, Bill Brown and Bernie, and then there was Bobby Rogers and Fabulous Frank. Fabulous Frank's still managing today, doing his thing. And Bobby Rogers had FOW, Future of Wrestling, and they were probably the 3-4 people that I start covering indie shows. And then the legend, Rusty Brooks. That was IPWA, FSCW, 4-Star Championship Wrestling, Global Wrestling, actually had some TV. He was with Bob Roop, the legend. He actually had an organization they were running at a little warehouse to do their TV in Pompano Beach. I did go to. That was pretty cool. And Hector Guerrero was on his show. That was some good times back then. Luna, Norman Smiley, really some fun times. But I think between Bill and Bernie, Bobby and Fabulous Frank and Rusty, they were the ones sort of opening the door to say, hey, come on in. You want to take some photos? You want to write some stories? Sure, come on. And
Yeah, of course, the legendary Rusty Brooks. He seemed to be train everyone down here in South Florida, years ago.
Yeah, there's so many trained by Rusty. He's just incredible. That the talent. Connor from the Ascension, who was in WWE. Luna, Norman Smiley, MVP, Gangrel, Angel Rose / Diamante are some of the names that Rusty worked with, and those are the bigger names. He's trained a lot of talent that have gone on to wrestle independently and all over the place, all over Florida and beyond. So there's such a legacy with Rusty as a wrestler. I always remember watching Tuesday Night Titans and seeing Rusty on Vince McMahon's show. There was a Tuesday Night Titans on the USA Network was a talk show, a pro wrestling talk show, and Rusty coming out with two other enhancement talent, and there you go. I remember seeing old clips of that, and then seeing an old YouTube video of Rusty working with Hulk Hogan on WWE TV, and just, yeah, incredible. And Rusty is truly a legend down here. But it was through them that I actually got my writing start as far as covering pro wrestling, and really good times. And then obviously CCW, we're going back to Bruno Sassy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, legendary Bruno Sassy, one of the founders of Coastal Championship Wrestling, along with Dan Ackerman, who's still a partner in the business today. And those guys with Phi Delta Slam, I mean, they exploded South Florida. They exploded it, made it the territory that it really is.
Yes. Yep. And they were part of a tag team with Big Tilly called Phi Delta Slam. They did the whole college with the big paddles gimmick and a cool ring gear too, with the Phi Delta Slam t-shirts and the insignia. It was really good stuff. And Bruno, it was funny because I was telling you earlier about stories. I actually wrote a story on Bruno, and the catch to the story was, here was Bruno helping run CCW on weekends, and by day he was a youth minister at a church down in South Broward. So youth minister by day, pro wrestler by night. And I did a nice story on him for that. That was fun. That was actually really cool and all, to get some background. But it was, yeah. So, and out of all the groups, CCW, 16 years and counting. That's got to be the longest in Florida, in the region, and nationally, it's got to put up a fight with some bigger indie wrestling companies for CCW to have that with Bruno and Dan. And then now you have Pablo Marquez from ECW and WWE Sabu, and with Dan Evans running. And they've had obviously like the Blackheart, Dave Johnson involved, and so many others involved during the years. And MVP coming back and coming out to some of the shows and saying, hey, I got my start here. One of my starts was here, and being able to back that way.
Yeah, absolutely. 16 years running in Coastal Championship Wrestling in the state of Florida, and also having the absolute best training facility in South Florida, probably in the state. So let's hear a little bit about the Coastal Championship Wrestling training facility.
Bugs Moran, the man of the land here. I used to be just a hobo, but now I'm a hobo with a wrestling championship, and that's all because of CCW. Come join us at CCW Training Facility. It is the longest running professional wrestling school and promotion in Florida. Located in sunny Fort Lauderdale, training available for professional wrestlers, managers, referees, announcers, valets, and much, much more. Call or text 954-548-5779 to start your wrestling journey. As head trainer Pablo Marquez says, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Again, call 954-548-5779.
It's fun to see when a big name talent works a show, works an indie show. But it's also good when it's not overdone, and that's what I like. Having a couple names on the show like that is good. It's a draw. But then let's enhance the talent that needs the exposure and needs the work in the ring. So you have a group like CCW, which also has a training facility as well. So now it gives a platform for talent. Rusty Brooks had a training facility, had a training center, whether it was a training center or even if it was a ring in his backyard. He had somewhere back in the day to train and then run shows. And it makes such a big difference when you could do it like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, at the CCW Training Facility, it's great when you see for CCW shows younger talent working with a guy like MVP or Jackal with Brooklyn Brawler or Mick Foley. It helps the younger talent.
That's a really great point too, because when you could do that, it's helping everyone, because not only is it helping those younger talents, it's also helping the experienced talent too, because you never know what you might be up against. So to be able to work someone that's not as experienced and be able to carry them and be in that position is also a help for the experienced talent as well.
You had WWE a few weeks ago cutting a large amount of talent and staff. Of course, you have this pandemic epidemic. How do you see independent wrestling in Florida going forward?
Well, I think indie wrestling is going to be fine. We have a lot of groups in South Florida, indie wrestling, and so far they've all been able to do their thing. I mean, we can go to Blueprint Pro out of Deerfield Beach, Ronin Pro, and that's Jameel and Mike, and then you have Ronin Pro Wrestling, Trevor out of Pembroke Pines, Sweetwater Pro, Miami, Fighting Evolution Wrestling, also Miami and Clewiston, GWA out of Dania Beach, Ignite out of Vero Beach, FSCW has Florida, and Florida SuperCon actually has Fantasy Super Cosplay Wrestling. So every year when they're in Miami, yeah, it's amazing. You actually get trained wrestlers that dress up in cosplay as cartoon characters or superheroes or video game characters, and they go out there and portray the character. It's more about portraying the character. And to see that is amazing. Full Throttle Pro, West Palm Beach. So you've got a lot. And then obviously the patriarch of South Florida indie wrestling, Coastal Championship Wrestling, 16 years and counting. So you have a lot of indie wrestling just in South Florida, and you have other groups up in the Tampa area and other parts.
Yeah, you make a great point. I mean, Florida is kind of the hub now of professional wrestling, and you see a lot of new students coming through that hub. Do you think there's a possibility of an oversaturation in regards to training facilities and promotions?
It's amazing to see how many wrestling training facilities there are, how many indie groups there are, and how they're able to all still exist, which tells me that there are a lot of men and women. Very important, because women over the last 5 years, it's just exploded with the evolution of the revolution. And that creates more awareness, more eyes, and it creates more opportunities where now more women are getting involved and wanting to train to be pro wrestlers. So you have a lot of men that are doing it and have done it, but more men are doing it. And now you have more women wanting to become pro wrestlers, which lends itself to having these different indie wrestling organizations and different training facilities being able to exist and survive.
Now, from the perspective of a wrestler, whether a female wrestler or a male wrestler, I mean, does having so many companies in such a close vicinity, does it make it easier or does it make it harder?
I think it makes it harder in one sense, because promoters want their wrestlers to do a certain thing, and they always didn't want their wrestlers per se working for another company on the indies. And then, but if they do this match, or they play a heel with us and a face with them, it's changing up things. And then what are our fans going to think? But I really think the fans for indie shows, I don't want to say don't care, but I just think fans, whether Cha-Cha Charlie, who's an outstanding talent, and what a look, with the dancing all as well incorporated in the whole thing, what a draw. But I think if Cha-Cha goes to New York and wrestles there and does something different, but he's still Cha-Cha, and then does something here for CCW, I don't think it takes away from anything. I really don't think it takes. Now, if he's the champion, I will give you that. If he's the champion and he goes up there and wrestles and loses 3-4 matches, yeah, okay, I get it still, because championships should still mean something. Totally. But I just think that, with social media, it opens up the door more where where everybody is and what they're doing. So that makes it harder too. but I think you can. I think you could branch out and do other things and get away with it more, and it's not hurting who you are, where you are.
You mentioned Cha Cha Charlie. We've had him here on the show. Wonderful wrestler, probably one of the most over wrestlers in South Florida. Tell me, who's on your radar as guys who can progress and maybe get to the next level?
Oh gosh, wow! I could come up with some names. And listen, we're doing it. We got to include everyone. So we got to do it that way because that's the right way to do it. I'll tell you who I really like, and he's so good, and he works with everybody so well. He's worked in the back with running shows. He's excellent in the ring. He's got a great look. Alex Chamberlain. I've been saying that for a couple of years now. I think Alex Chamberlain could fit in NXT. I think Alex Chamberlain could fit in MLW. I think he could. NWA Power, I don't know. I think NWA Power is different because it's that old school, but I'm sure he could probably make it work. But he's someone that I watch and I'm like, oh, wow. You know what? Yeah, Alex is really, really good. I look at someone like him. And then younger talent, I see a Will Austin, who we all know. I mean, that's probably not saying anything. If Will listens to this, don't get a big head, Will, please. So, I think Will does just a tremendous job. I mentioned Cha Cha Charlie before, and Cha Cha has put himself out there, other experience, which is really good. I like the Jurassic Juggernaut, Vince Steele. Now, I know he's a Northeastern guy, but he's come down here and worked for CCW. For a big man like that to move like that is just...
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned a guy with great size in Vince Steele. And then, of course, someone who has a bright future in Will Austin. And there's been so many guys who've just gone through CCW, of course, that have already made it to the next level.
And you know what else? A CCW alum who I think is just, when I say incredible, I mean, they could do not only work in the ring, but what they do helping with training others and just their attitudes and how they present themselves. Jake St. Patrick. Wow. That, to me, right there is just one wrestler that encompasses a lot of things, which I think is really cool. And you know what? And Santos, too, for that matter. Santos, I know Santos has been doing this for a while, and he's got another job, and that's his job, and he has to take care of that. But I've always thought Santos was one, too, that you could look at and say, hey, this guy's got an opportunity. This guy's got a good look. He knows what he's doing in the ring. He's really good. Right off the top of my head, I mean, we've got some very good tag. This is an older tag team, but that classic tag team that does sort of a disco type of gimmick. I don't know if they've ever worked for CCW, but I enjoy them. I enjoy watching them. We've got a lot of good tag teams, though, in Florida wrestling, the Gym Nasty Boys. They've worked some Blueprint Pro shows and all. The women, on the women's side, you guys have had Avery Taylor down a few times. I do like her. I do like her look. I like how she works in the ring. She's improving. She's getting there. Red Velvet's one. She's worked with FEW. I like Red Velvet a lot. Good attitude. The way she shows her attitude in the ring. I like that. I like that about her. She gets good crowd reaction too. And she's not a big girl, but she can bring it. She's tough. She is tough. So those are some. Cecil, I wish you would have told me beforehand because I would have went and looked through all. No, that's okay. But I just meant, I mean, there's guys that have been wrestling for a while. Like I think David Mercury and the whole gimmick that he has with what is it?
The technical alchemist with Wiley.
So much for remembering that. At my age, I'm glad I can remember the name, for God's sakes. But yeah, that with Wiley Gene as his manager, I think that is just really incredible. And I always liked. There was a guy on the. I wish I could remember his name now, but there's another guy that's been around a while, and that's great that I can't remember. It's an Irish guy, Irish wrestler. He does the Irish wrestler and CJ O'Doyle, I believe. I hope I'm not messing that up. CJ O'Doyle, I think, is a really good talent and all. But it takes a while. I mean, it's not just about the skill and the talent, but it's getting the right break and being in the right place at the right time, and continuing to try. Just because WWE turns you down, or you had a tryout and no one called back, or you tried with other companies, Ring of Honor, Impact, Major League Wrestling, NWA Power, AEW. We've seen AEW, Darby Allin. Now he's on AEW. I would have said Darby Allin, but he's already on AEW. Tremendous. Leva Bates, another one. AEW. She's tremendous. Big Swole. Ariel Monroe, AEW. But another one, she was down here wrestling a lot. And just seeing some of the talent like that. Sue Young, she's on Impact. She's on TV. But
just a few weeks ago, we had a former CCW women's champion Santana Garrett debuted on Raw.
Santana Garrett, tremendous. So glad that NXT signed her. Between Santana Garrett, Chelsea Green, and Deonna Purrazzo, those three signees. Now Chelsea, we're starting to see a little more. But wow, the NXT, their cupboard is not bare, everybody. And I'm sure people know that anyway. But they've got so much talent that we haven't even seen yet that it's incredible. But those are the ones right off the bat that come off that really just, everyone else out there, I'm sorry if I didn't mention your name. And what I see a lot of improving talent. No, I'm not. And then there's a lot of improving talent out there that you keep doing your thing. And just, look, we have a new CCW champion. We have a new CCW Southeastern champion, and just different champion, new CCW women's champion.
Yeah, yes, we do. We have the man of the land, Bugs Moran, Southeastern champion, just beat Pharaoh Johnson, and in the same event, Marina Tucker won the women's title, and then, of course, Agony defeating Striker Ramirez. You're right. Jim, we'll be back in just 1 second. Coastal Championship Wrestling needs to pay a few bills. We have a big, expensive studio here, and somebody's got to pay the rent.
Boca Stone Design will create the kitchen or bathroom of your dreams. Countertops of all types, granite, quartz, porcelain, and more. Cabinets and tile with amazing quality and service with affordable pricing. Call now for a free estimate, 561-362-2085. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Remember, Boca Stone Design, 3601 North Dixie Highway, Boca Raton, Florida, 33431. Call 561-362-2085.
And I'm glad for Agony. Agony works his tail off, and it's great to see him, and great to see him out there and elevating himself. And Bugs, that gimmick is very good. I like it. I do. I like it a lot. I love when he was entering the ring on that big couch. Wasn't it like a big thing? They were holding him on this big hobo couch. It just, some fun stuff. Really some fun stuff, some good stuff. So to all the new champions, to all the former champions as well, it's just good to see that. Good to see that in CCW. And the next time we do this, I'll get a list. I do like Tech. That was another one. Ronin Pro. Tech is a tag team. TC Reed and Mike Monroe. They come out. They're good wrestlers. They're rusties. They're rusty graduates, and they know what they're doing in there. And they have fun too. And they really work well. But that's another team I want to mention as well. So, but anyhow, it's indie wrestling in South Florida is really good. You get a chance to go out and see CCW, and it's affordable for everybody, which is great. And there's other indie wrestling in South Florida, and they make it affordable. And as long as they're all not overlapping on the same night, I'm happy.
Now, Jim, to your credit, if there is professional wrestling happening in Florida, in South Florida, whether it's a WWE show, whether it's a Coastal Championship Wrestling, whether it's a smaller promotion, you're always front and center. And so I have so much respect just for your drive to always be there.
I think it's important to do that. I think it's important to show everyone where these indie groups, and they're starting, and they're giving a start to others, to talent, to referees, to people even working behind the scenes. And it's important to, in your area, to show that and show what's happening. And I've always felt important. That's very strong, important, because I've been doing that for a long time. Whether I was covering a big show somewhere with some company or not, because some of the talent too will be in the big companies one day as well. And it's good to see where they started out and to have that and all. I think it's important to share the matches, to share that information with others, especially now we can do it more with social media these days and get that out there. And the feeling is mutual. I appreciate all the indie wrestling groups that open their door and say, hey, Jim, come on in. And I'm like, thank you so much. And can I interview some talent? Is that okay? Yes, go ahead. Can I take videos? Can I take some photos? You can do this, do that. Always ask. I never, all these years, because I think it's a protocol. This is for anyone that cares. If you're doing that type of job, it doesn't matter what you've done in the past. You respect everybody the same, and you ask beforehand as well. Can I do this? Am I able to do this? What's your protocol? Where can I stand? Can I take photos from here? Can I go by the ring? Can I go back here? I still think it's important. You shouldn't just show up because it's not your show. It's not your show. It's the company show and it's the fan show. And stay out of the way of the fans too. If you're standing by the ring, try to find the post or kneel down and get out of everybody's way, because they're the paying customers. And I've always taken that philosophy, and I think that's very important to do, whether you're a first-year media specialist, journalist, writer, videographer, etc., or you've been doing it for 30, 35 years.
Jim, Varsallone, this has been wonderful. I know that we'll have you back. You're a personal friend, and of course, Coastal Championship Wrestling, we adore you. So tell us a little bit on where we can find you, your work, and where can we connect with Jim Varsallone?
So the Miami Herald has a fighting page, pro wrestling and MMA, and they do some boxing there too. So a lot of my stories, my videos and photos we'll post there. MiamiHerald.com, sports, go to fighting, and it'll be in there. And you can also on Twitter at JimmyV3, JIMMY like Victor, and the number 3 is for my Twitter. My Facebook is Jim Varsallone. My YouTube channel, I like my YouTube channel because I could post all my audio interviews, all my video interviews. I could post clips of matches. And that's another thing I find important, because I'll get some people who write me back, where's the whole match? Where's more of it? And I'll be like, listen, it's only a couple minutes, because if you want to watch the whole match, go to the CCW social media and check out what they got going on there and see if you can find matches there and stuff like that. That's their thing to do. So if you want to see the whole matches, you need to check them out, and you need to support them or any of the other groups, other wrestling, Stop Fuller Wrestling. So I more or less put clips of matches there, but I still put some representation on there, which I think is important, and just have some fun with it, which is important too. I after all these years of doing it, I am not tired, bored of doing what I'm doing. I enjoy it and have fun with it. I think a lot of times when we watch so much of something, no matter what it is, we get bored with it. That's why TV shows don't last long. We get bored with it. When you have something like a WWE going on for up team many years, doing 2-3 shows a week, and you get so many people bashing it on social media, it's like, okay, critique is fine. Look, we're not going to love everything. Okay, you can make a comment, a critique about something, fine. But when that's all you do, it's like, why do you bother watching the show? If I don't like watching The Big Bang Theory, which I do love, it's one of my favorites. But if I don't like watching The Big Bang Theory, why am I going to watch it? I'm not going to turn it on because.
Yeah, I'm always shocked at the vitriol, the WWE and professional wrestling in general get on social media, and I feel like some of these people are like captive because we're addicted to professional wrestling, so we can't stop watching it.
I think it is too. They get so addicted, but then they don't like everything. And I'm like, how could you not like? I mean, I can understand you not just being all flowers and gummy bears and being like, oh, everything's great, hooray, hooray, hooray. But I'm just saying, okay, if you're going to post something about not liking something, it was a 2-hour show, it was a 1-hour show, it was a 3-hour show. There's got to be something there you like. Can you just mention something there too that you liked, or another tweet about something that was good? This doesn't always have to be the negative. And that's not it. There are a lot of fans out there that do write positive posts, and they're inspired by some of the stories of the pro wrestlers or sports entertainers, superstars, whatever you want to term it. And there was a lot of good out there too. There's a lot of good in social media. For all that, we always hear about the bad because obviously the bad gets the reaction, and that gets more talk. The car accident, driving by in 95, we all slow down to look. But there's a lot of positive out there, and there's a lot of positive and good on social media too, which I think is amazing and important.
It also, I think it's also the principle that sometimes things that are negative, kind of, you just see them more. There's no reason to go and post on how great a match was. I think the negative kind of gets a little.
I think it's not so much we're just seeing the negative. I think the negative is heightened because if you write something negative about someone or something, and then others go to it, whether it's that particular person or group or thing or their fan base, then that gets like just a good example is Ronda Rousey. I mean, I think that's all part of her getting back into it, but there are people out there that, and maybe not, maybe she is saying that, but it's calling wrestling fake. And she did say it was hard. And she did say it was, see, some of the things they didn't mention was, because I read what she wrote, that it was a grind, that it was hard, that you throw yourself out there that many days out of the year. But then she was said it's fake because of the scripted results and all. And so I get where she was coming from in that regard, but obviously use that term, you're going to make people mad. And then bashing fans obviously is going to make people mad, make fans mad when you bash them. That I understand that they're going to get mad about, so I understand that. But I think that was, for me, that's just my opinion. I think that was all part of a work, which means she's going to be coming back, which I'm very excited for because I like Ronda Rousey. And if we get heel Rousey, that's even better. So, guys, honestly, heel Rousey rather than happy Rousey. So, but I think that's, but when, my point is though, long dissertation, that we pick out the negative parts of that, and those are the parts that get heightened. And then Nia Jax responds and she's mad, and then we start tweeting about that. And that's then where it goes that direction, rather than, she didn't just totally 100% pass everything. She actually respected the superstars. She respected the company. So there were things that were in there that were positive.
Yeah, there's definitely some parts there where Ronda was taken out of context. I always thought she had a lot of respect for professional wrestling.
Yeah, that's why I like it. That's why I thought too that this was more of a work than it was of her actual feelings. And I may be wrong. Maybe it is both. Maybe it's one or the other. Maybe it's a work. Maybe it's her actual feelings, or maybe it's both. I don't know. But that's just my opinion. But my point is that there were positives said in her tweet, not just those two parts that everybody sort of picked out, and understandably so.
Jim, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful talk. Can't wait to have you back, especially when things are coming again. We'd love to have your take on some of the Coastal Championship Wrestling matches upcoming. And you're a wealth of knowledge, Jim. You'll be back very soon.
And when you do, Cecil Sharp, you're going to be sharp about this because that's the type of person you are. CS Sharp, being sharp, and you're going to say, Jim, now I'm going to give you a heads up because because make sure you get it. I may ask you about who should we look for future, who should we see in the South Florida Indies that we see that you think could have a next opportunity or be there. And then that way I can go back through all of them and then list down.
I promise, okay? I promise.
All right. Hey, Cecil, good talking to you. Thank you so much for having me do this. It was fun. It was appreciative. And we'll, once this whole coronavirus mess hopefully gets over, we'll be seeing you at a CCW.
And that was our excellent conversation with the great Jim Varsallone, a Miami Herald reporter for professional wrestling and MMA. Thank you, Jim, very much. But also today, some amazing news in regards to Coastal Championship Wrestling. The Colons, Epico and Primo, have the executive committee has announced that they have a deal with Coastal Championship Wrestling. Once we're able to run shows again, June 6th is our next scheduled show. But that, of course, is up in the air depending on what phase Florida's epidemic would be. But on June 6th, it'd be amazing to be able to see the Colons, especially with Matt Stryker and Will Austin as tag team champions. They will be defending their championship in that June show, and I'd love to see how the Colons play into that. I think the championship committee would be hard pressed to give them a title match right out the gate. But I mean, coming from World Wrestling Entertainment, the fact that they're legends, they're family legends in Puerto Rico. Guys have been wrestling since they were 14 years old, so 20-year veterans already. They're going to make an impact in Coastal Championship Wrestling. And of course, they were former tag team champions, former unified tag team champions, great wrestlers, but also great minds, and also incredibly entertaining. So the Coastal Championship Wrestling Tag Team Division, whether that's Matt Stryker and Will Austin, whether that's Agony and Alex Ocean, whether that's any of the other potential challengers for the Tag Team Championship, they're going to be on notice because Epico and Primo are going to come with a chip on their shoulder. So guys, we'll be back next week with another CCW Talks.